I will say.
What a team.
Riquelme was head and shoulders above everybody on this pitch, including Messi.
Wow.
Riquelme was that good, where I was like, oh, is this guy for real?
Legendary Argentinian playmaker Juan Román Riquelme achieved icon status during his magical career, leading Boca Juniors to a long list of trophies. His Boca heroics led to transfer to FC Barcelona, but that move did not deliver success, lasting just one season due to clashes with Barca manager Louis van Gaal. Riquelme's European fortunes changed, though, when he joined La Liga side Villarreal, where he enjoyed a memorable 5 seasons with the Yellow Submarine. He played a key role in leading Villarreal to the Champions League semi-finals in 2006, but missed a penalty kick in the semi-final loss to Arsenal to spoil the run. His legacy is built around not just his unique style and creativity, but also multiple titles, including the 2008 Argentina team he captained to an Olympic gold medal. The streets won't forget Riquelme, 4-time Argentine Player of the Year, 2001 South American Player of the Year, won 11 trophies with Boca. Nico, when you hear the name Riquelme, what's the first thing that pops into your head?
Magic, without a shadow of a doubt. Riquelme was a completely different footballer. And honestly, the world of football isn't producing Riquelmes anymore.
Facts.
In the modern age, when we value speed and intensity so much, Riquelme was the one that said, nah, I'm going to operate at a different level. Everyone's trying to hit 5th and then 6th gear, so you can't catch him. You couldn't catch Riquelme in 3rd gear. And that's what made him so sensational. Because he operated at that different wavelength, he was able to see the game and let the ball run for him. And you don't have that type of player. And not only that, it wasn't just his style, it's his impact. Because sure, he had a European career, but in Argentina, he won 3 Copa Libertadores, 2 before he went to Europe, and he came back and won the Copa Libertadores again with Boca and cemented himself as one of the greatest icons in the club's history.
What aspect of his game do you admire the most?
His vision and the way that he was able to play so precise.
Ridiculous. There's one guy at this desk who got to witness his greatness.
What an honor.
Up close and personal. Charlie Davies, what was it like facing Riquelme?
Of all the players that I've played against in my life and have seen play live, Riquelme is one of very few who stands out. And it's because of how he was able to glide around the pitch. He started the match with his shoes untied. And I was like, this can't be real. He played with the match with his shoes untied.
What?
His laces were dangling, and he just floated across the pitch, and he had complete control, a master manipulator of the ball in possession. We see the highlights, the megs. He used the sole of his feet so well. Both feet could roll the ball, but it was his change of pace. He didn't have elite speed, he didn't have quickness, but the way he was able to shift down,
where?
And shift left, and shift right, and changing his pace and making you stopping. You could never be in a rhythm. You could not keep like a hand's distance from him because he was so good at changing direction at the stop of a dime. And then you throw in his vision. Oh my God. On the ball, he could be in this way, not even looking, and play a back heel. And it was always had to be some sort of magical pass.
Like all this little flair.
And the megs, he's the king of nutmegs. I mean, there wasn't a player that I ever saw who could find a way to put it through your legs, whether it was a pass or dribbling, with so much ease and grace and style. So for me, one of the most special players that I've ever had the chance to see play, and it wasn't because he was so fast, and it was just because he had complete control at his pace. The game was played at his tempo.
I think you bring up such an extraordinary point in the pace, and you never said it. You said shift left, right, and shift back in pace. You never said shift forward. The analogy I'll say, it's imagine the whole team is in a car, and the car's going at 60 miles per hour. Suddenly, if you slam the brakes, everyone is going to go forward, but Riquelme never went forward. Riquelme was the one that slammed the brakes, and he stood still when everybody was going forward. And in that moment, he was able to make the pass, and he catches the opposition off guard. When everyone's trying to do this and get their bearings, he's already thinking, all right, here's the pass for the goal. Jorge Valdano, who played with Maradona in the 1986 World Cup for Argentina, legendary Argentine figure, he wrote in one of his books about the pause, la pausa, that there was no one that was able to offer that pausa like Riquelme, if it was through a nutmeg, if it was through a step over. I remember the nutmeg against Yepes in a Super Clásico.
When he rolled it and
he rolls
went backwards.
he steps over it backwards through Yepes' legs. And in that moment, in that game, he needed to decompress the game somehow. River was trying to look for the equalizer, and he hits that nutmeg. And because of that pause, it wasn't running around people, juking three people, getting to the corner flag. He's able to deflate.
But see, the difference too is, I think of a player like Busquets, right, who's slow, not quick, but he doesn't dribble.
Yeah.
Riquelme dribbled. Riquelme carried the ball. It wasn't like, all right, I know I don't have the pace. I'm not going to beat anyone on the dribble, so I got to be super. So Riquelme and Xavi, the two best players I ever played on the pitch with that I witnessed, and they were phenomenal. Yeah. So in that team that I saw Riquelme play live with, Messi, Crespo, Juan Sebastian Veron, Cambiasso, Zanetti, Tevez, and
This is the team?
This is the team.
How bad they beat y'all?
4-1.
Oh.
But it was 1-1.5. Hey, y'all got one? Shout out to Eddie Johnson. He had the PK. I mean, Eddie Johnson was fine at this time. But I will say,
what a team.
Riquelme was head and shoulders above everybody on this pitch, including Messi.
Wow.
Riquelme was that good, where I was like, oh, is this guy for real? And look at this team. We're talking about all-stars. And Diego Milito was also on the bench. Gabi Milito was on the bench.
No, Gabi Milito started.
Yes,
Diego Milito's on the bench.
The forward, his brother.
Yeah.
So we're talking about Aymar was on the bench. He came in. This Argentina team was just a dream. It was literally super stacked.
Look at how Riquelme hits the free kicks. Just loosen the foot a little bit and see how he does. And there's pictures of Messi looking at Riquelme as Riquelme is setting the ball to take the free kick on the Argentine national team, and then Riquelme kind of
passes the torch,
and Messi became one of the best, if not the best, free kick takers of all time.
Dang.
And
what a testament.
I mean, just when we talk about streets, won't forget, it is wild to think that a player like that can have so much flair and dribbling ability with not much pace. That doesn't exist in this game anymore. You don't even see a player with his flair and his ability to dribble that way, regardless of anything else. But you throw in his vision, his set pieces, his passing ability, all of the above, his vision, his first touch. Extraordinary.
It's funny because I think he confused a lot of Latin Americans, because I think Riquelme is not a streets won't forget in Latin America. He's like a legend, pure legend in Latin America mostly. And I think that there's a lot of kids growing up playing soccer that want to play like Juan Román Riquelme, but only Juan Román Riquelme can play like Juan Román Riquelme. And often I encounter a lot of guys that are lazy on the ball, don't run a lot, and say, no, I'll let the ball do the talking. And it's like,
you ain't got that. Bro. You ain't got that in your locker.
Typically, you turn into being Busquets or Xavi when you don't have that pace. And maybe Iniesta is a little bit more like Riquelme, because Iniesta wasn't the fastest, but he could dribble. And he was phenomenal at dribbling and finding the right spaces. So that would probably be someone that I'd go, oh, that's the comparison in terms of being on the ball.
Towards the end of his career, what about someone like a Toni Kroos? Not exactly like him, but someone who but someone who didn't need pace to be effective in that sense.
No.
But we're talking about somebody who was beating you 1v1 on
I think one of the biggest testaments to a player's quality and the legacy that they're going to leave is the way that the peers speak about them, guys that played against them, played with them. You referenced Jorge Valdano. This is what he had to say about Riquelme. If you have to travel from point A to point B, everyone would take the 6-lane highway and get there as quickly as possible. Everyone except Riquelme. He would choose the winding mountain road that takes 6 hours, but that fills your eyes with scenes of beautiful landscapes, which is literally kind
Poetry.
of exactly what Charlie was alluding to in his vision. Horacio Pagani, who is a famous Argentinian journalist, had this to say: the second inventor of football, the first were the English over 100 years ago, which is pretty powerful. And then, of course, Diego Maradona. Riquelme played the sort of football which we Argentinians like and which really typifies the South American style.
They played together at Boca, Maradona and Riquelme. Riquelme was one of the few people to have played with Messi and Maradona.
He had an iconic celebration too.
He did.
Nico, can you kind of explain what it meant and how the genesis of it?
It was in a Superclásico. It was around the time of the Argentine financial crisis in 2001, and the president of Boca at the time, Mauricio Macri, who, fun fact, ends up being the president of the nation, he was in a dispute with Riquelme because Riquelme says that he was promised bonuses which he didn't receive. So when he scores the second goal in El Superclásico against River, he runs over to the presidential suite. You know how the Bombonera has the flat side with all the boxes? The presidential suite is on the other side, sitting by itself in the middle of the stands. So he ran over to the stands and planted himself and went like that, straight to Macri. And it created this dispute between Macri and Riquelme from the very beginning. And when asked about it, he said, "What was that for?" And he said, "Oh no, I was imitating El Topo Gigio, who's a cartoon character, an Italian cartoon character that my daughter watches." So El Topo Gigio became this sort of act of defiance in Argentine culture. So whenever someone celebrates like that, you know, Icardi does it now. Messi did it at the World Cup. And if you want to...
There it is.
What's the detail here? This was in the game against the Netherlands. You said, Susanna, that he didn't have a successful time at Barcelona because of Louis van Gaal, who was the coach at the time at Barcelona. And who was the coach talking a lot of trash in that Netherlands quarterfinal?
Oh, my goodness gracious.
It was Louis van Gaal. So talk about full circle.
Wow.